Welcome to this Better Every Page deep dive on YouTube.
Yeah.
We are diving into a topic today that it doesn't just affect your daily routine. It literally shapes the environment where you spend your entire life.
Yeah, your literal physical reality.
Right. We are looking at Good Housekeeping Home Skills, compiled by the editors at Good Housekeeping. And our goal for the next little while is to, pull out the most valuable, actionable knowledge from this text. We want to look at how we can transform these heavy, often dreaded chores of home maintenance into empowering skills. Skills that actually save you time, save you money, and keep you from pulling your hair out.
It's a mission we can all relate to. I mean, especially when you consider how the whole concept of home economics has morphed over the last century. We live in an era where gender roles are thankfully much more fluid and technology is just everywhere.
Absolutely.
We have robot vacuums, we have smart thermostats, yet, despite all that automation, the baseline requirement of actively managing a living space hasn't disappeared. If anything, because we are constantly connected and moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, the stakes for having a peaceful sanctuary at home feel higher than ever.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you are watching or listening to this right now, you are probably balancing a dozen different plates. You have your career, family logistics, maybe attempting to maintain a social life, and somewhere in there getting 8 hours of sleep.
Hopefully.
Right, hopefully. And then at the end of the day, you walk into your kitchen and the sink is leaking, the laundry is this massive mountain on the armchair, and the sheer volume of upkeep just feels paralyzing. The promise of this book isn't just another list of chores. It's a systematic approach to avoiding that exact feeling of overwhelm.
And before we get into the actual systems, we should probably establish why we should listen to this specific book. Because Good Housekeeping is not just a lifestyle brand. It's an institution that dates back to 1885.
Wow, 1885.
Yeah. And in 1900, they launched the Good Housekeeping Institute, which is basically a massive laboratory dedicated to rigorously testing consumer products and domestic methods. So when they tell you how to get a stain out of a rug, it's not some, viral internet hack that might secretly ruin your carpet.
Right, like mixing baking soda and vinegar and hoping for the best.
Exactly. It is tested, proven chemistry. We are seeing a massive resurgence in DIY culture right now, people wanting to be self-sufficient and sustainable. And this text acts as a 100-year-old mentor for that exact mindset.
That distinction is crucial. It's the difference between a quick fix and actual knowledge. So instead of walking us through a rigid chapter-by-chapter outline, let's group the book's teachings into the real-world challenges we all face. Let's start with what the book considers the foundations, the actual mechanics of cleaning and organizing.
The basics.
Yeah, because people think they know how to clean, but the book points out we are often doing it completely wrong. What is the fundamental shift they suggest here?
The biggest paradigm shift is moving from chaotic, reactive cleaning to systematic cleaning. The book introduces a very rigid yet weirdly liberating rule. Top to bottom, dry to wet.
Top to bottom, dry to wet.
Right. When most people clean a room, they might wipe the coffee table, then vacuum, then notice dust on the ceiling fan and dust that, which knocks dirt right back onto the freshly wiped table and vacuumed floor.
Which is incredibly frustrating and literally doubles your workload.
Precisely. The Good Housekeeping method dictates that you always start at the highest point in the room, dusting the crown molding, ceiling fans, window valances, and work your way down. Gravity is doing the work for you.
That makes so much sense.
And the dry to wet principle means you do all your dusting, sweeping, and vacuuming first before a single drop of liquid cleaner or a mop enters the room. If you introduce liquid too early, you just turn the ambient dust into mud.
That alone saves so much wasted effort. And the book also gets very specific about tools. I know I grew up seeing feather dusters in every cartoon and movie, but the book essentially outlaws them, right?
They do. Feather dusters just agitate dust and redistribute it into the air.
You're just moving it from one piece of furniture to another.
Exactly. The book advocates heavily for microfiber cloths, which actually trap and hold the dirt particles due to their electrostatic properties. It's a small hardware swap, but it completely changes the efficacy of your weekly cleaning routine.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because once the space is actually clean, the book moves us into the mechanics of the home. This is the stuff that genuinely intimidates people. We're talking about DIY repair.
Oh, yeah, the scary stuff.
Right. I know for myself, the second a plumbing fixture starts acting up, my immediate instinct is to freeze, panic, and Google a plumber who's going to charge me a $150 call-out fee just to look at it. But the book argues we're entirely capable of handling these things.
They make a very compelling case for it by removing the mystery. Take that leaky faucet you mentioned. It sounds like a complex plumbing disaster, but the book breaks it down into foolproof steps. First, look under the sink and turn off the water supply valve.
Crucial step one.
Very crucial. Second, and this is a brilliant tested tip, put a thick towel over the sink drain so when you unscrew the handle, you don't drop tiny screws down the pipe.
Oh, that is genius.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly what would happen to me.
Right. Third, you pop off the handle, and 9 times out of 10, you are just looking at a degraded rubber O-ring. You take that little 50-cent piece of rubber to the hardware store, match it, pop the new one in, and reassemble.
Hearing it broken down like that makes it sound like putting together Lego.
Right.
It shifts the narrative from, I am helpless against my house, to I am the manager of this facility.
And that managerial mindset extends to energy efficiency, which is another major mechanical theme in the book. It's not just about changing light bulbs. They teach practical diagnostics. For example, the dollar bill test for your refrigerator.
Oh, I love this part. Walk us through how that works.
It's incredibly simple. You take a crisp dollar bill, close the refrigerator door on it so half the bill is sticking out, and then pull it. If there is tension and it resists, your seal is good. If the bill slides out easily, the rubber gasket on your door is failing. That means your fridge is constantly leaking cold air and working overtime to regulate the temperature, which is quietly driving up your utility bill every single month. Finding and fixing that seal is a tiny mechanical task that pays you back in real money.
And it speaks to a broader theme they call combating vampire power. We have so many devices plugged in that draw energy even when turned off. Coffee makers, phone chargers, gaming consoles. Unplugging them or using smart power strips is a proactive way to run the home, rather than just reacting to a high electricity bill.
Right.
But let's pivot from the mechanics to what we can call the daily grind, the two absolute titans of household dread, laundry and the kitchen. Let's tackle laundry first, because we've all had that moment of pulling a favorite sweater out of the dryer and realizing it would now only fit a small dog.
Oh, the shrinking sweater tragedy. Fabric care is a science, and the book treats it as such. One of the most common mistakes they highlight is the overuse of laundry detergent. The marketing of these products has conditioned us to fill the plastic cap all the way to the top line.
Yeah, they literally give you a giant cup.
They do. But the Good Housekeeping experts point out that modern washing machines, particularly high-efficiency ones, use significantly less water. If you use too much detergent, it creates an excess of suds that actually cushions the clothes.
Wait, cushioning the clothes is a bad thing. I thought suds meant it was getting clean.
It is a bad thing because clothes need friction to get clean. They need to agitate and rub against each other to knock the dirt loose. Plus, excess soap doesn't rinse out properly, leaving a sticky residue on your clothes that actually attracts more dirt the next time you wear them. The book teaches you to use about half the detergent you think you need.
That is mind-blowing. You're saving money on detergent, your clothes get cleaner, and they last longer. What about stains? Because that's usually when people panic and just start aggressively scrubbing at their shirt.
That is the absolute worst thing you can do. The book's golden rule for stains is blot, never rub. Rubbing damages the fabric fibers and pushes the stain deeper into the weave.
So what's the alternative?
If you spill red wine, for example, the technique is to blot up the excess liquid immediately. Then you can use club soda or even sprinkle salt over it to absorb the remaining liquid before treating it. They also emphasize temperature rules. You always use cold water for protein-based stains like blood or sweat because hot water will literally cook the proteins into the fabric.
Yikes. Okay.
Conversely, you need warm or hot water to break down oil-based stains.
It's basically an applied chemistry class. Now, moving from the laundry room to the heartbeat of the home, the kitchen. The kitchen is where things can spiral out of control the fastest, especially regarding food waste and pantry management.
The kitchen strategies in the book borrow heavily from professional restaurant management. They advocate for the FIFO method in your pantry and fridge. First in, first out.
FIFO.
Right. When you buy new groceries, you don't just shove them into the front of the shelf. You pull the older items forward and put the new ones in the back. It sounds basic, but it completely eliminates the phenomenon of finding a 3-year-old jar of mayonnaise hidden in the back of the fridge.
It prevents you from rebuying things you already have, which is a massive budget drain.
What's fascinating here is how all these disparate skills, the dusting, the O-rings, the laundry friction, the pantry rotation, they all build toward a single central argument. The book argues that maintaining a home is not an endless, random series of punishments.
Right.
When you integrate these practical skills, you completely change your relationship with your living space. You stop being a victim of your messy house and become the architect of your comfort.
That shift from victim to architect is massive. And I think that transitions us perfectly into the deeper themes of this text. On the surface, we're talking about how to wipe a counter or fix a pipe. But underneath, the book is really exploring identity and personal growth.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the most prominent philosophical undercurrent is the idea of self-sufficiency equating to empowerment. We live in a society where it's very easy to outsource everything, from food delivery to home repairs. But outsourcing breeds dependence. When you master your domestic environment, you reclaim a profound sense of autonomy. Your home ceases to be a source of ambient anxiety and instead becomes a physical manifestation of your competence.
That reminds me of another theme they touch on. Order is mental clarity. It's not about making your living room look like a magazine spread so you can impress your neighbors. It's the argument that a harmonious physical space is a fundamental requirement for emotional well-being. A chaotic room bombards your brain with visual stimuli and unfinished tasks, whereas an organized room gives your brain permission to rest.
Exactly. You cannot untangle the state of your environment from the state of your mind. It also brings up a really interesting tension between tradition and modernity. Good Housekeeping has been sharing this wisdom since the 19th century. Yet the book bridges the gap, showing how to honor time-tested practices, like the simple chemistry of baking soda and vinegar, while embracing modern realities like smart thermostats and high-efficiency appliances.
That holistic scope makes me think about other major frameworks out there, specifically Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which took the world by storm a few years ago. Kondo's philosophy is brilliant, but it is highly niche. It is almost entirely focused on the emotional event of decluttering.
Yes, very event-focused.
But let's be real. Once you have thanked your sweaters and discarded everything that doesn't spark joy, you still live in a house. You still have to figure out how to get that wine stain out of the rug or how to stop the toilet from running.
That's a great distinction. Decluttering is an event. Home management is an ongoing practice. This Good Housekeeping manual covers the organizational piece, but then it actually teaches you how to run the machinery of the home long term.
But the word ongoing is exactly what terrifies people. If I'm listening to this, I might be thinking, okay, I need to do top to bottom dusting, check my fridge seal with a dollar bill, use half my detergent, and rotate my pantry like a restaurant. It sounds like a second full-time job. How does the book suggest we actually implement these strategies without burning out by day 3?
This is where their actionable frameworks shine. The primary strategy they advocate is the 15-minute framework. The goal is to break massive, looming projects into tiny daily actions. The governing philosophy is that consistency will always beat intensity.
Consistency over intensity, I like that.
Right. Instead of dedicating your entire Sunday to deep cleaning the house, which you will inevitably dread and procrastinate, you dedicate just 15 minutes a day to a specific task.
So it's about building micro habits.
Precisely. One day, you spend 15 minutes organizing a single drawer. The next day, you spend 15 minutes wiping down the baseboards in one room.
That makes sense in theory, but let's apply this to a real-world scenario. Let's take a busy parent with a couple of toddlers. Toddlers are basically entropy in human form. You can spend 15 minutes organizing a drawer, and a 2-year-old will dismantle it in 15 seconds. How does this framework survive contact with real life?
The book addresses this reality by focusing on containment and the 2-minute rule. For the parent dealing with the toddler tornado, the goal isn't pristine perfection. It's establishing baseline systems. You set up dedicated drop zones or decorative baskets where toys can be quickly swept out of sight at the end of the day.
Just to get them off the floor.
Right, and you pair that with the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, you do it immediately.
Like wiping down the kitchen counter the second you finish making lunch, rather than letting it dry and harden into a weekend scrubbing project.
Exactly. It takes 60 seconds in the moment, but it prevents you from walking into a sticky, demoralizing kitchen the next morning. It's also about doing a quick, focused tidy up in the living room right before you go to bed. You aren't deep cleaning, you are just resetting the room. You are essentially doing a favor for your future self, so when you wake up, you start the day in a neutral environment rather than a chaotic one.
Another scenario that stands out is the person living in a tiny space, like a studio apartment in a major city. The challenge there isn't managing a massive floor plan, it's that every single item you own is constantly visible.
And for that scenario, the book emphasizes dual-purpose organization and vertical storage. When space is at a premium, horizontal surfaces like tables and counters become clutter magnets. The strategy is to train yourself to use wall space. Hooks, floating shelves, over-the-door organizers. By showcasing different living scenarios, the text proves these methods are adaptable.
You just have to find what works for your layout.
Right, you don't need a sprawling suburban house to practice excellent home management. You just need to evaluate what is causing friction in your specific space and apply the right micro habit to solve it.
So what does this all mean? As we bring this Better Beige deep dive to a close, I think the major takeaway is a complete redefinition of what home economics actually means today. It's not an outdated, oppressive set of chores. It is an ongoing, lifelong journey of learning how to care for your surroundings. It's a source of personal pride and the active creation of a sanctuary for yourself and your family.
It's a vital life skill, and I think it's important to remember that the concept of a perfect home is highly subjective. It varies wildly based on your cultural background, your personal preferences, and the current season of your life. The book gives you a very robust toolkit, the science of stain removal, the mechanics of plumbing, the habits of organization, but you are the final architect. You take the tools that serve you and leave the rest.
You build the system that supports your actual life, rather than trying to force your life into an impossible standard.
This raises an important question, and it's the thought I'd like to leave you with today. We've discussed how our physical living spaces are direct reflections of our internal mental state. If that is true, could the simple mechanical act of finally fixing that leaky faucet, or rotating the pantry, or taking 15 minutes to organize one chaotic drawer be the most immediate, tangible way to repair and organize our own minds? Sometimes, to fix the chaos going on inside our heads, the best first step is to fix what is right in front of our hands.
What a fantastic challenge to end on. If you've been putting off a tiny household project, maybe tonight is the night to tackle it for 15 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us for this Better Every Page deep dive on YouTube. We hope you walk away looking at your home with fresh eyes, armed with the actual skills to make it a place you truly love to be. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of your space.